The topic today for the service is Open Your Heart to the Cosmic Christ. And there's a quote from Norman Paulsen, the founder of Sunburst. A total sense of freedom and the immortality of one's soul dawns within as the pure self steps forth. I wanted to continue on with a little bit more reading from Norm to start this. And it is from his autobiography, Life, Love, God, a story of a soul traveler. And I'm going to read from the introduction. Not the whole introduction. The awakening and emergence of the pure self, if attained by the multitudes, will literally create heaven on earth. In the light of this divine consciousness, the human spirit will be revolutionized. Not my will, but thy will be done. Old concepts will be done away with. All will become new. This will not be a new religion or an ism of any sort. It will be people who are each guided within themselves by the same divine intelligence, the same wisdom, the same light. There will be no efforts to save men from their sins by the promise of a heavenly abode after death. All depends on the realization of one's individual soul, the reflection of God within. The dawning of the new consciousness will convey the realization that one has already attained the kingdom of heaven. There will be no doubt of the absolute Godhead, as every soul shall see and know God, I am that I am, face to face. Each spirit will now know its oneness with all of life and the expanding spheres of creation. The Savior of humanity is the Christ sense, the pure self within. This is an evolving realization that destroys selfishness in the individual spirit, along with the sense of sin, shame, guilt, and fear, henceforth divested forever. The most profound aspect of all this is the soul's sense of immortality. This is not a conviction that one shall attain eternal life, but the absolute reality that one already has it. Only our own personal experience of this state, along with the continued study and meditation on those who have attained it, can ever enable us to realize what the cosmic sense truly is. We had a winter solstice celebration here at the ranch. And last night, we walked the labyrinth together, everyone who was here. And Craig gave us a very insightful and inspiring introduction to our walk. Talked about how walking the labyrinth really can change us magnetically. I think he used the terminology, it can expand our auric field, give us more energy just by walking the labyrinth, by walking that path back and forth. I don't understand the scientific meaning of it necessarily, but I do know that there are times when I walk the labyrinth and I come away feeling different. I don't see auras, so I have no idea if my aura is any bigger or not. But I do feel a greater sense of fullness. And I was thinking about how walking the labyrinth is a lot like practicing meditation. It's just a walking meditation. And it's a time for contemplation. And not so much that we're thinking with our mind, trying to figure things out, but we're just giving ourselves some contemplative space within for new ideas and new thoughts to dawn on us. And these many times come from beyond just our physical brain and old memories, but they come as an inspiration that seems to come out of nowhere. And this is really a blessing for anyone who has developed any kind of practice of contemplation, because this is where the real answers come from. So also yesterday, we had an all-day meditation here in the temple, and different people took different shifts to make sure that there was always someone in here. And my time slot was from 4 to 5 yesterday afternoon. So I came in at 4 o'clock, and I found that I was having, and this is rare for me, a very good meditation. Because many times I do struggle with just not being able to stay with my breath and be in the moment. But there was a deep peace in the room yesterday. I think others may have felt it as well. And after 1 hour was up, I just felt like I wanted to sit for another hour. And then I'm really glad I did, because a whole herd of people came in. 5 o'clock. We had a very full temple from 5 to 6. It was really nice. It was good to just sit quietly with everyone and contemplate. And about halfway through that second hour, I don't know why, but this old memory popped into my head from like 40 years ago. And it was taking my oldest son when he was, 4 or 5 years old, to his first soccer practice. And, 4 and 5-year-olds, it was a lot of fun. But I'll never forget that the coach, he had all the kids lined up, paying attention to him as best as they could. And he said, there's only 2 rules. The first rule, when I blow the whistle, everybody stops. And the second rule is, have fun. And those were the only 2 rules. And then it was just, delightful mayhem watching them have fun and not really learning any skills about soccer right away, at least. And some of the kids actually were able to stop when the whistle blew, but not all of them could, because some of them were so far and so deep into their imaginations and into their fun that they probably just didn't hear the whistle. But that was okay. The coach was gracious and compassionate, and he had his priorities straight. Because he wanted those kids to have fun out on the soccer field. He didn't want to be a drill sergeant for 5-year-olds. So as I was sitting in meditation, and this thought came to me, I was taken off guard by it a little bit. Like, where did this come from? And then it just started sort of unfolding in my mind how isn't it very similar to how we as souls are sent out into the expanding spheres of creation by the divine creator? We could even call the divine creator the coach if we wanted to. And are we given 2 rules? And one is, when the whistle blows, stop. And the other one is, have fun. And I just realized how important it is that we do have fun in our lives. And of course, there's nobody blowing a whistle that we can hear in this dimension, but we all do have that voice of reason within, that when we're considering taking a step in one direction or another, we have the God-given capacity to make the right decision or a good decision. In the end, whatever decision we make, we're going to live through it, but we don't always make the best decision. But what is it that gives us the ability to make a good decision? And it is that connection that we have to our divine source through our own intuition. The voice of intuition has been called the sixth sense that we are all endowed with. And then I thought about how it might look from that divine perspective. And it very well may look a lot like a 5-year-old soccer practice. We're all sent out to enjoy the creation, to do the best we can to contribute to the betterment of the creation, but we don't really have a good sense of it all of the time. And we're, in a way, sometimes, I'll speak for myself, I do feel like I'm running around in circles, not really so aware of the fact that the things that I am doing are really making a difference and really have the ability to make a difference in my life, in the lives of those around me, and for the betterment of the whole planet. Because we know that as whatever we do, it's like tossing a pebble in a pond. There's a ripple that goes out, and it's affecting the energy on the planet. When we gather together like this, it's creating a really big ripple. And because we come together and we focus on positive things, it's creating a really big positive ripple. A ripple of expanding consciousness, the thing that we're all very, very interested in. So in reading Norm's information writing from his introduction, and this was how Norm was, he wrote in very simple terms. He didn't, I don't know, you could always understand what he was talking about. Maybe it was because he was a simple man at heart himself. He was a bricklayer when he was a young man, and he always worked the trades. He loved to do fun things like go sailing, and he loved animals and horseback riding. And he was relatable. He was just really relatable. And so his writings, if you read his book, I think you'll find them relatable. There's nothing that goes kind of over your head in terms of talking about spiritual concepts, maybe. I mean, there are things that he told me and all of us for years and years and years that after saying it the 500th time, I finally went, oh, that's what he's talking about. But he always said it in simple terms. And so this idea of opening our heart, back to the topic, to the cosmic Christ, is just that simple, that we live a life where we connect ourselves internally to the source of inspiration that we have come from, that sustains us, that gives us inspiration, that we connect ourselves to that, and we seek to let that energy and that information flow into our self-conscious minds and expand them into Christ consciousness or cosmic consciousness or whatever expanded type of consciousness you feel comfortable using or talking about. And we do talk about Christ here at Sunburst. And that, I know that when I first came to Sunburst, I didn't really quite understand what that meant, because it's very hard to hear the word Christ and not just think of Jesus because Jesus Christ is, everybody knows. Everybody knows that name. Everybody knows who that is. And for some people, that is a very inviting feeling to think of that. And for others, they're not sure of it. And for others, they're not interested in that. But when we talk about the cosmic Christ or Christ consciousness, it's the consciousness that Jesus was possessed of while he was here in his body. His body was a human body, but he had attained this higher consciousness. Probably was born with it, that's sure what it seems like from all the stories. But then he developed it even deeper into the teaching and into the parables that he had. And so when we talk about Christ, we're not talking necessarily about Jesus Christ. We're talking about this consciousness, which is a state of mind. It's a state of consciousness that we can all attain and benefit from as we go through life. I wrote myself something here. I said, the key is in the daily living and a contemplative practice. Walk the labyrinth of life every day and turn the wheel of meditation. Listen deeply, and the answers to our deepest questions will come. The other term that Norm would use a lot, and it was brought up in the topic and in his introductory writing, and that is the idea of the pure self. And what is the pure self? I know that Norm talked about the pure self for years, and I couldn't quite get my mind around it. In recent years, I've started to understand it more, but like any spiritual concept, I think I still have a ways to go, because to experience it is to really know it. But I'm starting to understand that the pure self is that little spark of God, of the original creative energy that was sent out with our soul into creation. And our soul, it's going through this journey, and it's trying out different things, and sometimes it can kind of get lost in creation, and it can forget itself, who it is. I mean, how many times do we think to ourselves, I'm more than just my body. I'm more than just my habits. How many times do we get down on ourselves about that we're lacking in this or that we're lacking in that? And in reality, we're not lacking in anything, and we're completely connected to Divine Spirit all of the time. But we forget. But the pure self travels with the soul from one incarnation to another and never loses sense of its identity, and is waiting to burst forth within us and give us each soul awakening. So let us take some time together now to meditate together, to listen for that voice within, to allow the pure self to influence in whatever way it can, in a really big way or in a very subtle way, to influence the awakening of our deep, deep understanding of our connection to Spirit. wanted to share a few more thoughts before we close. In 3 more days, it's going to be Christmas. So Merry Christmas. And this year, on Christmas Day, it's also the first day of Hanukkah, which doesn't happen that often. So happy Hanukkah as well. And with that, I'd like to tell a story about a Buddhist person. I thought it was I love that thing that Norm says in the introduction, that as the divine sense grows on the planet, there won't be any more religions or any new isms. Like if you ever see an advertisement for Sunburstism, probably should just stop coming. Because we're not interested in establishing a new religion, just interested in sharing whatever we can to help anybody that's interested. Because everybody takes whatever they get here or anywhere else and they incorporate it in their lives, and hopefully it's a positive influence. So I was watching an interview with this lady who I was not familiar with before. Her name is Jen Kelsang Gomlin, or Jen Gomlin, and she's a Buddhist nun. And I'm going to guess by seeing her picture that she's probably maybe in her 60s. But she started out as a nurse working in hospitals. She didn't have any religious affiliation. And she's very scientific, and she got into the cardiac ward and intensive care, and she really liked all that kind of activity. And she did that for about 20 years, and she was around as people were passing away in the hospitals. And she experienced that. And then she moved to rural New Mexico, and there were no hospitals anywhere near where she was, and so there were no jobs. So she got involved in hospice. She started doing hospice work. And she said it was such an eye-opener for her, because the first time that she went to be with someone who was passing at home, she found herself looking at her watch, because in the hospital, there's things that you do to kind of assist somebody as they're getting close. Maybe it's take them off of a ventilator or whatever it might be, but there's sort of the ending comes sooner. And she said that this particular death took like 27 hours, and it was amazing to her. But it was also eye-opening, because it was such a natural process that she could feel when that person passed. She could feel that something very real had happened and was leaving. And I don't know how many of you have been involved with people who are passing. I personally have not, but I have been at a number of childbirths, and I know that when a baby is born, you can feel it. It's palpable. There's like a new energy that comes into the room, and it stays with that person for their whole life. And then from listening to this lady here, she's saying, and when they leave, you can also feel it leave. And she was questioning that. She was going, where is it? Where does it go? And then through her Buddhist practice, she learned, and she said this was revolutionary. I learned that the mind and the brain are not the same thing. And it was revolutionary to her. And I know that we've talked about that here before, how our brain is like a physical instrument that registers consciousness, but it doesn't generate consciousness. The mind, which the Buddhists refer to as Buddha mind, I think is what we may refer to as the soul. The soul is connected to something much higher and beyond the physical body and the physical brain. And so that began a journey for her of really understanding how important it is to not only take care of your body, the health of your body, the health of your brain, but also the health of your mind, your inner mind, to do things that help generate and regenerate your inner life. And she came up with 3 things that she thought were really important in her life. She says, what am I doing now to develop a positive mind that makes me happy and grow in my deeper understanding of spirit? Number 2, what am I doing now to develop compassion that benefits others through service? And number 3, what am I doing now to develop inner peace that will benefit me after leaving this body behind? So positivity, compassion, and peace. And she says, I believe if I'm doing those things, then when I pass myself, I'll have a good transition. It'll be more conscious. And she said, I've seen a lot of people, especially in the hospital setting, who did not pass with peace, but more people pass at home with peace because it's a more natural setting. And then lastly, she tells a story about a woman who had developed ovarian cancer in her 50s, and she was a professor at the university, and her husband was a professor too. And so she came to this woman's house to do hospice work, and she had on some of her Buddhist dress, whatever it was. And the lady looked at her and said, "What are you?" And she says, "Well, I'm here. I'm your hospice nurse. I'm here to help you with hospice." She goes, "Yeah, but what else are you?" She goes, "Oh, well, I'm a Buddhist." And she says, "My husband and I are both atheists, and please do not proselytize to us while you're here." She said, "Absolutely not. That's fine." And she said the woman had such intense cancer that it had created a complete bowel obstruction. And she said, this is one of the most painful things that can happen in your body. And you can't, you can't eat, you're uncomfortable, you can't even stand the smell of food. But every day this woman would get up and she would go in the kitchen, and all day long she would make meals, because she said, my husband is a horrible cook. And when I pass, I want to leave him as many meals as possible. So out of the compassion that she had, she was making meals for her husband. She said they had to buy a second freezer because she was going longer than anybody expected, and she was making more food. And she said then at the end, they had become so close, the nurse and the patient, and as she was getting ready to transition, Jen asked her, she said, can I just perform a little Buddhist traditional ritual? And they had developed trust at this point. And at that point, the lady said, yeah, I might as well have all my bases covered. But she said, I learned more from that woman about compassion than I ever learned from anybody in my life. All the people I took care of who may have been devout in whatever their religion was. So it does not matter what you believe. It just doesn't. It matters how you behave. And this woman, through her compassion, was showing Jen, the Buddhist, what real compassion is. And I just thought it was such an inspiring story. I wanted to share it with you today.
Oh, my Lord, I feel you everywhere. Take my life, I put it in your care. Oh, my Lord, I feel you everywhere. Take my life, I put it in your care. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Oh, my Lord, I feel you everywhere. Take my life,